Hello and welcome back to Mellohi, a Dream SMP podcast. This is episode 56 and today we'll be discussing shipping in the Dream SMP fandom.
Hello, everyone. Right now it's just me and Snowy. I don't know if that's gonna stick. We had to record a little earlier, and Sai's not here. Yeah, but I mean, Sai might show up and be like, "Oh, okay, we're doing this," and I'll be like, "Yes, we are. Apologies. We had to start." So yes, hi. We don't know what we're going to talk about. I think we might like mention the VidCon stuff, but I don't think either of us
Wilbur said Quackbur wasn't true.
He said that they did not ever have a romantic relationship, and every Quackbur truther cried. But also, what did you guys expect? Like, you don't? Okay. I know many people in this fandom are on the younger side, and so they're probably not used to going to conventions like this. But when you go to a convention, the number one thing you don't do is ask the people on the panel about ships, okay?
No,
like,
but that
people
was
have
funny.
Done it before.
That was funny.
It was funny. That time it was funny, but like people have done it before, and it almost always ends in disappointment. So
it's one of those.
Just
you don't want to know the answers.
Yeah. Because, like, as long as you don't, directly bring it up, you can't get queer-baited, and you can't be, like, proven wrong. Because I know for a fact of other fandoms I've been in where certain ships were queer-baited to hell and back, and people would ask about them at cons, and they'd get these vague answers that just, reinforce the queer-baiting. So, genuinely, if you go to a panel or a convention, you can ask about those things. Just be careful about it, because and like, especially if it's not a ship that's been like explicitly shown on
screen
on the show.
It was we got here's I am not a shipper, and I can understand why people would ship Quackity and Wilbur. But the thing is, from my point of view, they never really, aside from being hyper fuck you to each other, they were never, like, it never came off as romantic to me, necessarily. It might have come up as a little, that weird sort of, half obsession thing, right?
Yeah.
When you're, like, half obsessed with some one person, and you're not quite sure why they're half obsessed with them. And it could potentially be because they're romantic, they're carnally lusting for them or whatever. But, more to the point, we don't really see them interacting that much, and of the times we do see them interacting, they're mostly just giving each other the middle finger and being very passive-aggressive about it.
I can kind of see it, because there is, like, a popular type of ship that's, like, the mutual, like, fuck you type ship.
Yeah.
Of these people are like, it's kind of like the enemies to lovers trope, but more specifically
assholes
just
to lovers.
sticking with the we fucking hate each other aspect. But you know what they say, it was like love and hate are like a thin line in between each other. Yeah, well, that's a popular trope. So I can kind of get it, but I don't know why everyone wanted and needed to ship Quackity with Wilbur when you literally have fucking Quackity and the fiancés right there. Like, that man is already in a canonical, like, homoerotic relationship. You don't need to ship him with Wilbur. I mean, and besides, there's other characters to do that with.
Yeah, but also, like, the other major portion of their relationship we see was written in a fan fiction by Wilbur, so
true.
You can't,
and it's even funny. I don't know. Okay, but I know you're not on Twitter, and I don't know if this is actually true or not. But the funny thing about that is that supposedly after that question,
Quackity was like, yes.
Quackity tweeted and was like, I don't know what he's talking about, and then deleted the tweet. And I don't know if that was a real tweet or not, but on the one hand, maybe Quackbur shippers,
I think enough
you have a
people
chance.
have talked about it that it's
chance.
Probably a real tweet.
Probably. I don't know.
But I mean,
You know
like,
how
it
things
also
are with
makes
this
sense
fandom.
with Quackity because he makes all his characters super homoerotic.
True. And if their relationships aren't a little homoerotic and a little gay, yeah, I don't know if is that really a Quackity character? Like,
if it's really Quackity's character if he's not lusting for another guy.
like there's a reason that people like to do like well, obviously fiancés, and then there's a reason people like TNT duo. There's a reason that some people like to make Quackity or character Quackity and character Dream a thing. Some people do that, but in like a really toxic, fucked up way, and it's like, okay, that's not healthy. But you know what? I can see where the temptation to do that ship would be. I don't know. I think this is gonna be a shipping podcast episode. I think that's what we're gonna talk about, because that seems to be the route we're going down. And you know what? That's fine.
This is coming from someone who does not like shipping.
Yeah, wait, no, we're the worst people to do this, but perhaps also the best people, because I also am not like a big like shipper person. Like there's a few, so I'm on the Arrow side of things.
Hi.
And so like I do like romance, but I'm not like hardcore into shipping.
I feel like
so
casual anime has completely turned me off from romance in anything ever.
that's fair. Anime relationships are garbage. I think I probably wouldn't engage in any shipping if I could, but I don't. A lot of my favorite characters are characters that get shipped a lot.
Yeah.
Like what is it? What's that? So, there's this TV show that I like called 911, and like my favorite character in it, 90% of like any content is about him and this other dude in the show. And like I get it, they're a cute relationship. They're like best friends in the show, and they have like some weird tension there. So I totally get it. But I don't have a choice. Or like with Stranger Things, like Steve's my favorite character, so I'm just forced to like read Steve and Billy ships. I've protested against the whole Eddie and Steve ships because that's really popular right now, but I hate it because I don't think that makes any sense. But you know, I've
watched BNHA for a little bit back when it was super popular when it was coming out, and my favorite character Izuku is always shipped with someone. Doesn't matter.
But at least with him, you've got like the multi-ship thing, where like people ship him with a lot of different people. Like there's the straight ships with like Uraraka.
But actually, they were shipping him with Todoroki, and I'm like, where the fuck did this come from? He gets trauma dumped once, punches him in the face, and now they're a couple?
Listen! Okay, wait, no, this isn't fair. I like that ship, okay?
I will come for you with my...
No! Okay, listen, at least it's not the fucking Baku Deku ship, okay?
Okay, but Baku Deku, Nick, you can understand where it comes from because they were childhood friends. Where the fuck did Tododeku come from? Where did that come from?
It's because Deku is like Todoroki's like first actual friend who actually supported him and like snapped him out of his like
not enough
trauma ways.
Why does everything have to be romantic is my question. Why is like having a close friendship, being besties with someone, why is that not enough? Why must people go like, why do people think romance is the next step? Why do people think that romance is a higher form of relationship than friendship? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Okay, so I like, on the one hand, I do get it. I agree with you because like I'm one of those people who thinks like, why can't it's a common thing.
Friends?
Yeah, like there's the complaint I see a lot with people being like, well, why can't two male characters in a show be straight and just be like just friends and like not be shipped together? Because I think that was like a big problem with like when the Winter Soldier TV show came out, because the guy that plays Sam was like, no, I don't think that Bucky and Sam should be shipped together because I think it's important to have representation of two men being good friends, especially when one of them is a black man, because black men are commonly over-sexualized and over like romanticized into being like partners, and that's like a problem apparently. I didn't know about that myself, but he expressed that, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like, it is important, I think, in TV shows, especially considering like for so long, like, things like toxic masculinity was, you know, shoved down the throats of men, that it's important to have TV shows where two men can be friends and have, like, emotional connections with one another and express emotions healthily.
I want to
so I get
it that it's important for just two people, regardless of their gender or whatever, or sexual orientation, that they can still be just friends with each other, because that's what you see in real life, right? Because, like, in shows, you have, when you're introduced to the main female character and then you're introduced to a main male character, there's this underlying assumption that they're going to get together in the end, and I just,
yeah,
like,
yeah, and I completely understand, because well, see, that's the funny thing, right? Because I think I agree with you, because I think that's a very important thing that we need to see more of in television, where two characters, regardless of their gender or sexual orientation or anything else, are allowed to just be friends without people immediately turning it into, like, oh, well, look at the way that they look at each other and, like, how close they are. Like, they must be dating, or there must be something romantic about their relationship. Because, like, even for me, growing up, that was so common, where it's like a male character and a female character on a TV show together, and both of them are semi-central or, like, main characters. They are, like, 90% guaranteed to have some kind of romantic chemistry. And I know that affects me, where, like, even now, like, I have a hard time, like, going out with, like, my guy friends unless I know that they're in relationships, because I'm like, what if they think that this is a date? Like, I panic over it, because, like, I am very aromantic, and I'm just like, no. I have to set very clear boundaries. Like, I will not do this. So, like, but that's, like, obviously, that's not true, right? Because people can be friends and not be dating, and, like, and be opposite genders, and be genders that are attracted to one another. Like, they can be friends without automatically dating. But I also, I totally agree with that, but I also understand where, especially when it comes with same-sex relationships, why so often people are like, oh, they're fucking, or, oh, they're dating, like, there's romantic connection here. Because I get it, because, like, for so long, LGBTQ representation was so understated and underrated and not included, that it's turned into this thing of where people will, and I think another part of it also is that,
I will say,
for
though,
women,
that in AO3, if you go and look at the Izuku tag, you'll notice that more than half of the fics in that tag is going to be M/M.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I was like, it's well, on the one component, you have the whole problem with people fetishizing gay men, or male attracted, or MLM people, and that's problematic, because you shouldn't do that. And on the other hand, you've got, because there is, like, this fetishization, I can't say that word, but, you know, of that sort of dynamic. But on the other hand, there's also, like, I don't want to knock down, because especially this accusation gets thrown against women a lot, where it's like, well, you like male on male relationships way more than you like other things, so obviously you're fetishizing them. And it's like, see, I do think there are women who do that, and I think there are men who do that as well. However, because, like, you see that a lot with, like, men doing that to same-sex female relationships, and it's like, see, I don't want to label all people who do that as fetishizing. Oh my god, what? How do you
fetishizing?
This is why I went to speech therapy as a child. Jesus Christ. Fetish. Oh, no, I can't do it. Okay, whatever. You know the word. Anyways, those kinds of relationships, because I think there's, like, it was an interesting thing, because I was reading a tweet, or, like, a thread somebody had made talking about this thing, saying that, like, yeah, no, I'm really into same-sex couples when it comes to shipping. Like, that was her interest. That was in the majority of the ships that she likes. And she's like, for me, it's partially because most of the time male characters are more well-written than a lot of female characters are, and they actually are allowed to be more three-dimensional characters than a lot of female characters are. Yeah. Whereas, like, a lot of female characters end up just being, like, side pieces to a male plot line. They're one-note characters. They're only about romance and relationships and shit like that. So it's like, so it's easier to relate to male characters.
And they're not a real, like, they don't feel like a real character.
Yeah, and so it's easier for them to relate to the male characters, and so that I kind of understood, because I've always had a problem, or not a problem, but I've always had a thing where, like, whenever it came to a TV show or anything, I almost always, my favorite character was always a male character.
Because
like, that has been true. Yeah, like, that's just been true my whole life. Like, my favorite, like, my first fandom, I would say, was probably, like, Naruto, and my favorite character was Naruto. I liked the male characters. Majority of the characters I liked in that show were the male characters. I hated the female characters, but to be fair, Naruto just has a bad history of portraying female characters. But that's been true, like, for all of the fandoms that I've been in, pretty much. I think there's only, like, 1 or 2, maybe, where my favorite character was a female, and it was Catra from She-Ra, because she's a very well-written character. And then, I don't know who the other one is, but it's an anime. It was like a very small anime called Ghost Hunt or whatever, and I liked the main female character from that because she wasn't all about romance and lovey-doveyness. Like, I like female characters that are more well-written than that, and that doesn't happen a lot, where it's not made about how attractive they are or how, you know, male fantasy they are. So, like, yeah. I got that aspect of it because, I mean, I've personally lived through that myself. But the other thing they said is that, well, the reason that they like the MLM relationships more when it comes to fandom is that a lot of the time, if you... It can avoid stereotypical relationship conventions, because you can have 2 men in a relationship and it doesn't have that same sort of thing that's forced onto female ships a lot, where it's like the big strong man and the weak little woman, which because that's honestly, that's very common as well.
Yeah, but it also
in media.
does still happen with MLM ships.
It does. That's the other problem. It does still happen in MLM ship, and I think, and so, like, I kind of understood that one, and then they also said, but to me, my addition to that is, like, it still happens in MLM ships a lot, and the thing that stands out to me with that is, I wonder if the reason that people who still fall into doing that with the MLM ships,
they don't know anything else.
Well, that, and then part of it for me also is that even if that stays true to, like, an MLM ship, almost always you have both sides being more emotionally available and more, like, expressing their emotions. So even if you have one being, like, the weaker of the two,
quote unquote,
they're both quote unquote. I actually did air quotes with my fingers, but I just realized that we're just doing this audio, so that wouldn't have picked up for anybody. But yeah, so air quote. But even if, like, some of my favorite ships, like, I like the Deku and the Todoroki ships, for going back to that. I like that ship because it has Todoroki, who you could deem as the silent, strong type, sharing emotionally, and then you have Deku, who, like, a lot of people deem as, like, the bottom, or, like, the whatever it is for anime or whatever. Please don't use
that language in this podcast, sweet. I'm tired of you. I'm having flashbacks.
It's that kind of thing.
I'm traumatized.
Listen, I grew up reading anime. Everyone was just that, and then Yuki and Sebi, so I'm not gonna go into that too far.
Why would you pick those words?
But so it's like, so even if the characters fall into that sort of, like, stereotypical, like, big strong one and the weak submissive one or whatever, there's still, in the MLM ships, when people usually write about them, they usually present a more balanced level of emotional vulnerability from both of them. So even if one is, like, caring for the other, you still get that thought process of, like, I care about them, I'm taking care of them, like, I'm so sad, like, I'm so upset for them, and, like, you get this equal amount of emotional vulnerability from both, whereas, like, a lot of the times, if you do that with a male-female ship, it's usually because it plays into the gender stereotypes of, like, the female being the weak one. It ends up just being this big, strong man, and then this sad, weak female. Yeah, and it's misogynistic, so I hate it. So, a lot of the time, and, like, sometimes people, like, flip the script with that, and I think those can be really good. Like, I like that. I don't know. So, I think for me, at least, and I'm not a big shipper, but when I do, like, fall into, like, enjoying a ship, it's because it feels more
balanced.
Equal. It's more balanced, and it doesn't bring back all of those, like, stereotypes and misogynistics and that kind of stuff that I have admittedly preconceived notions about of like male-female relationships, because that's how they've been depicted in media for so long and so often.
Yeah.
So it's like, I understand why women, or just people in general, might prefer MLM ships.
Yeah, I guess, like, I think
LMF.
another one of my sort of issues with shipping, any shipping in general, is like when they designate who's quote unquote, I don't want to say this. No.
Who's the submissive or what's the
Submissible and
what's a good word to use
breedable?
for-
Submissive.
I wasn't gonna say that. I was gonna say what's a good word that isn't just bottom, because that's what usually people use. But
Okay, no, how
yeah,
about this? So when I see ships and they put the characters into stereotypical, more feminine and more masculine roles,
yeah,
they
that's a
always
good
have
way
the
to do it.
feminine one wear a dress.
Wait, really?
Well, have you seen the Bakudeku art where he's just a maid in a dress and he's at home cooking food for Bakugo,
Oh,
being
yeah.
a hero?
I
Like,
guess that is true. That does exist. I haven't really thought about that.
because they do it a lot, and I wouldn't mind it so much if they also did it equally to the quote-unquote more masculine half of the ship,
Yeah!
but they don't
Make
even
it equal!
certain solely for the more feminine part? What?
Yeah,
It's just
it's
leading
annoying.
back into those old cliches and
Yeah.
stereotypes and tropes, and that just
See, but that's
it's
also
annoying.
why I'm picky with my. See, no, we're of the same mind here. We both don't hate like all shipping, but we do hate all the stereotypical shitty shipping that people will do of making one the stereotypically feminine, one the stereotypical masculine characters. Because that I hate.
I hate
and I don't
it.
care what like actual genders they are. I hate that.
I hate
it's
it.
the worst.
You know, right
Like,
now,
why?
my favorite anime right now is Spy X Family. My favorite character is Anya, but I love Lloyd and Yor because they make such a great pair without being in an explicitly romantic relationship. They're pretending to be married, but they're also
They're
like
a power couple
they-
without
they're-
necessarily
if
being
they-
a couple.
yeah, if they were an actual couple, they're just like so good as a couple because like it's really funny. Yor is insanely strong physically, and she's terrible at most traditional feminine quote unquote jobs or chores. Like she can't cook. Her cooking is actually lethal.
That's
But she's good at cleaning, and she's good at other things, and she's good at like she really loves Anya, and she's good at like helping Anya and trying to teach her how to do things. And Lloyd, on the other hand, he's good at basically everything. But that's how he's presented in the anime when he's first introduced. But he's like he takes on because he makes up for Yor's weakness in like household chores of like not being able to cook and stuff, so he takes on that role of being able to go around and make food for the family because Yor can't do it. And I like that because it's a bit of a reversal, right? Because normally, traditionally, quote unquote, it's the female role that takes on the cooking and all the household chores and all the taking care of the kid. But in this anime, Lloyd also takes up a fair chunk of that responsibility himself, and I like that. It's balanced to me, right? Aside from the whole wacky, insane premise of Spy X Family, this is
right.
Their relationship feels real and genuine and balanced to me, and it feels like something that would actually happen in a real life relationship. Aside from the pretending to be married part, which honestly, if there are people out there who pretend to be married for tax benefits, go ahead.
Listen, that's a very common trope, to be fair, actually, of, like, honestly, we could just have, like, a nice conversation about, like, what the common, like, romance tropes are, because one of them is definitely, like, we're gonna pretend to be married or boyfriends, or girlfriends, or whatever, and, then we're gonna fall in love with each other. That's such a common trope of, like, all kinds of just people being, like, that's just such a common premise for, like, fan fiction, of it's like, I need a date to this wedding to get my parents off my back. I'm gonna have my friend pretend to be my, significant other. And then, I'm actually gonna accidentally fall in love with them. Whoopsie! And like that's such a common.
It is very common, but I think the reason why I like Spy X Family specifically is because there's aspects of that, but it doesn't fall into like it doesn't play it straight, right? It doesn't fall completely into because these two are like full-grown adults. They've got their own jobs, their lives. They have this marriage for their own benefit mostly, but even despite that, they grow close. Like they grow really close. The whole family grows close to each other, but it's never between Lloyd and Yor. It's never an explicitly romantic one.
Yeah.
Also, they get so flustered whenever Anya says mom and dad are. When she says mom and dad are flirting. It's
yeah,
really
I've
funny.
watched what is it, like the first episode of that. I need to finish that anime, but I have such a long list of things that I need to do. Yeah, no, bringing it back to the romance aspect of the Dream SMP though, you gotta think, I don't know if there's any ships in the Dream SMP that I can actually get behind. But I will say one thing that's nice about the Dream SMP though is that every ship that you can make won't fall, I mean, unless you force them to, doesn't play into those, like, tropes and those stereotypes, because so many of the characters are just, like, you know, actual people.
Yep.
So if you're stereotyping them and saying, like, well, this one's a typically masculine and this one's a typically feminine one, I'll come for you in the dead of night.
We'll slit your
toes
throat.
or something. Okay, I wasn't gonna go with the death threat, but I will definitely threaten you.
Because death, I am very extreme.
It's just like you don't like, yeah, oh my god, every character on there is an actual like living person in a way, and so like there's a lot more depth to them, and like you can't stereotype them as easily, and even if you can play against stereotypes too with a lot of them. Like a lot of people do like DNF is like George being the weak one, but if you stay 2 seconds to George, he's a fucking chaos like former frat bro basically, who is like got Dream like wrapped around his fingers. Like it's like that doesn't play into tropes because they're actual people. And so like if you're doing, you know, actual shipping, like look, if you look at any of like the really popular ships for the Dream SMP, it's like Dream and George, or Quackbur, I guess, recently with the characters. I don't know, Sam and Ponk.
The actual canon relationships.
Yeah, it's like none of them really fall into that because all of these characters can stand on their own and none of them are weak people or like made out to be weak people. Like they're all living, breathing characters. So like with Quackbur, you just have two bastards going at it in their weird homoerotic rivalry. Or if you've got DNF, you've got
DNF.
Oh god, I don't even know what the fuck to call them anymore. You've got DNF, who is just all sorts of things.
It's just DNF is DNF. There's not much we can do about it. Not much we can explain about it.
You can't talk shit about DNF. It's one of the funniest ships. Or you got Sam and Ponk, which is just abusive relationship, and really they need to. Ponk, if you haven't broken up with character Sam
I think he has.
God damn.
I think
so, but on the other hand, he keeps like going back and forth on whether he forgives him or not, and I'm just like, Ponk, please. This man literally had a dude in his house, like, in a cell for, I don't know, a year.
He took your arm! He took your arm
He
and
took
didn't
your
even keep
arm
it!
off! Yeah! It's fucked up! Oh my god. That's the other thing, though. All of the ships on there are, like,
Fucked
at
up.
least mildly toxic and unhealthy. You can't, none of those ships are happy ships. Like, at best,
Carl
you might have been able to do, like, a character, and even that's got problems now. Like, you could have done, like, a character.
Well, before
That's
it was
true.
still kind of not good, because considering what Quackity made Carl do, but...
Right! Yeah, what the fuck? Yeah, no, all of these relationships, man. Oh god, the Dream SMP and shipping. It's such a interesting time. I don't even know what, like, the really popular ships in that fandom are, other than DNF.
I mean...
I guess the fiancés, probably,
yeah, but on this side of Dribbler, Dreamber is pretty popular, so is Druns. Anyone with dreams. There's even people who like to ship Sam with dreams.
I know a few people who do that in the most, like, but it's always, like, a very healthy or, like, unhealthy, toxic relationship.
It's all. What do you expect from the warden and his prisoner, man?
Yeah, you make a good point. Oh.
But I have to get going now, so.
Yeah.
Dream SMP, shipping.
Yeah.
I'm pretty okay with all of their ships considering.
Yeah, I
the
don't
canon
hate
ships,
any of them
considering
too
the
hard.
way they're like presented and how they interact with each other. It's really cool and interesting.
Yeah. It just works, you know.
Yeah, it works. But
yeah.
I will have to go.
That's fine. We're gonna do a question of the week really fast. And I think based off of what we discussed here,
Who's your favorite
how do
ship?
you all? Yeah, what's your favorite ship if you have one, or how do you feel about shipping?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
We didn't. Yeah. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.
Short episode. Bye.
Well, thanks for listening to the 56th episode of Mellohi, and we hope you enjoyed it. If there's any topic you'd like to hear us discuss, feel free to leave a comment or find us on Twitter at Mellohi Podcast. You can also ask us questions or just get updates about new episodes. We also have a Discord server that you can find a link to in the description. See you next time!